Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. This is WION. World is one. This is your prime time. And you are watching Gravitas.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas. I'm Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top focus tonight on Gravitas gets you the decoding of the big developments in West Asia. What's brewing behind the scenes and beyond the headlines as the region remains on the boil amid a series of questions over whether America has been hiding troops' injuries. What is the strategy though? As intelligence reports say, US strikes are unlikely to make Iran kneel. We are decoding this and a lot more and getting you the latest from on the ground. Also on the show for you tonight, a detailed report on the CJP protest in Delhi with thousands regrouping at the protest site in Jantar Mantar. Rahul Gandhi also leading a Congress protest outside the Prime Minister's residence, getting you up to speed with all that has happened. We get you a Gravitas special report on the internet's darkest secret. You don't want to miss this. In South India, a DMK MLA has been arrested over remarks against the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Vijay. We get to the story behind the scenes. The FIFA World Cup is over, but the season of Donald Trump's self-goals continues to make the headlines. We tell you about the biggest ones he has made so far. Elections are set to be a thing of the past in Nicaragua. Can you believe this? We tell you why. We also tell you how Sri Lanka is using drones in its battle against dengue. Are you a coffee lover? There is some good news. A study says 5 cups of coffee might be good for you. We decode what the researchers say. All this and a lot more coming up. As the tensions between Iran and the United States reach boiling point, Donald Trump has been vowing retaliation for the killing of US troops, and a number of questions have surfaced all this while. For instance, has America been hiding its war casualties? Has it been covering up its troop injuries? How many US troops have been injured, and what is Donald Trump's strategy? Ever since the war started, a number of questions have been raised over the troop injury figures, remember, and the extent of the injuries as well. Earlier, according to a New York Times report, the Pentagon allegedly withheld information on dozens of military injuries suffered by the US forces during the war in Iran. And the Pentagon has responded. According to it, nearly 100 US service members have been injured over the last 2 weeks of the escalating strikes on Iran. In fact, the Pentagon spokesperson has said the vast majority of those injured experienced minor concussions, and 96% had since returned to work, according to the Pentagon. In fact, the spokesperson was responding to the New York Times report. According to the according to which the Pentagon allegedly withheld information about the troop injuries from the Iranian strikes, and he denied that the Pentagon was hiding data about the injuries. In fact, he called the allegations baseless and malicious accusations. So a lot has been happening on that front. Remember, at least 2 service members were killed and 1 missing after Iranian strikes on the airbase in Jordan on Friday. They were identified as a 25-year-old and also a 19-year-old. President Trump has said Tehran would pay dearly for the deaths of the American soldiers. So what's really been happening on the ground? Iranian state TV has released videos. It claims to show missiles and drones being launched towards US bases in West Asia. In fact, the entire region has been witnessing fast-paced developments as the exchange of fire entered the 10th day. Let's break this down for you. US forces bombed Iran's south and west. Let's just pull out this map for you just to help you understand what's been happening on the ground. So as far as those strikes are concerned, Iran also has been stepping up its attacks. In fact, the US forces bombed Iran's south and west. Iran targeted US sites in Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, and a tanker was also hit in the Strait of Hormuz earlier. Remember, Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis announced a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia on Monday, which basically opened a potential new front in the war and also raises the threat to global energy supplies and trade beyond the region. The US Central Command has said it had hit Iranian military command centers, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems in its latest round of strikes. So things have been heating up. The Iran Revolutionary Guards, in fact, saying earlier that they had targeted US military sites, including air defense systems and a radar installation in Bahrain and Kuwait. A tanker in the Strait of Hormuz reported being struck by an unknown projectile earlier, forcing its crew to abandon the vessel and board a lifeboat. Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan all said they had activated defenses to repel the attacks. In fact, at the same time, Iran launched renewed attacks. Remember, it has been doing so across the Gulf. Recent strikes there on desalination facilities have also raised serious concerns about water shortages. Attacks on the Kuwaiti power generation and water desalination plants on Monday itself caused several generation units to be taken out of service as a precautionary measure, and repairs were reportedly underway, according to the authorities. And while those attacks continue, what really is Donald Trump's strategy? Is there a strategy? More importantly, will it work? Because within the United States as well, serious questions are being raised. In fact, US intelligence seems to have serious doubts as well, reportedly. According to a report by the Washington Post, US strikes on Iran are unlikely to impact Tehran or cause it to soften its negotiating demands, as per new American intelligence assessments. But Iran's government is unlikely to be affected by the attacks, reportedly. That's what current and former US officials reportedly told the Washington Post. US intelligence officials have reportedly briefed the Trump administration that Iran and America are now stuck in limbo, with both sides refusing to de-escalate, reportedly. Tehran vowed to fight until the very last day. But what exactly is that last day? When will it arrive, if at all? And does Trump know the answer to that? Because he has increasingly looked like a leader who started a fire and has no idea how to douse it. A fire whose flames have reached far and wide, with far-reaching repercussions both economically and geopolitically. And on American soil, the questions continue to mount. Will this be an unending conflict? As of now, there are no signs, at least, that the conflict will end anytime soon, with the danger of a rise in hostilities looming large as well, threatening to pull the entire region deeper into uncertainty. Both sides signaled being open to fresh negotiations. But will any progress be made, or will the two sides continue to double down, sharpening their attacks with no end to the conflict in sight? A day after thousands of protesters hit the streets in the Indian capital seeking accountability from the government, protests are no longer limited to Jantar Mantar alone. As Sonam Wangchuk's hunger strike entered day 24, huge drama unfolded outside the Prime Minister's residence as well. Let's just break down the developments for you first. Earlier in the day, key Congress leaders, including Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, D.K. Shivakumar. In fact, they sat on that dharna, as you can see, to seek justice for students, while the government sent the Union Minister, Jitendra Singh, to convince Rahul Gandhi to end his protest. His attempt was unsuccessful. Although the Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav also joined the protest, he along with the Gandhis were subsequently detained reportedly and removed from the protest site by the Delhi police. In fact, Singh claimed that Gandhi went back on his promise to end the dharna after the government agreed to discuss the NEET issue in the parliament. Instead, the union minister in fact accused Gandhi of putting forth a fresh demand of the education minister's resignation. Earlier, Gandhi appealed to all Indians to join his sit-in and openly called for the resignation of Prime Minister Modi and the Union Home Minister as well. Protests raged throughout the day. Take a look at these visuals. Apart from the Congress dharna, crowds continued to swell at the Cockroach Janata Party's protests in Jantar Mantar. Both the Houses of Parliament earlier in the day had to be adjourned for the day after witnessing disruptions by the opposition MPs who sought to discuss the NEET paper leak issue. And earlier in the day, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi visited Delhi's Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital to meet the protesters as well who were injured after those clashes broke out between them and the security forces reportedly. While CJP accused Delhi police of using brute force against the peaceful protesters marching towards the Indian Parliament, the police say that they were attacked with stones and other objects. According to the Delhi police, protesters deliberately violated prohibitory orders, attempted to breach the barricades, vandalized 15 to 20 government vehicles allegedly, and damaged public property. While over 118 police personnel and 60 protesters sustained injuries, 70 protesters were detained. 5 FIRs have been registered so far in connection with the violence. In fact, the Union Minister JP Nadda also visited 2 hospitals to inquire about the condition of the injured protesters and reviewed the medical facilities being provided to them. So let's just also take you through what the principal demands have been all throughout, at the heart of what we've been seeing. What exactly have the CJP's demands been? They are basically seeking justice for the students who ended their lives allegedly because of the NEET UG exam cancellation, because of that large-scale paper leak, allegedly. In a letter submitted to Nadda a day earlier, the CJP also demanded the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan and the release of Sonam Wangchuk from the hospital. Besides this, the protesters also demanded compensation of 1 crore rupees for the kin of the NEET candidates who died by suicide. As of now, the government is yet to clarify its stance, essentially. However, Prime Minister Modi has addressed the issue of paper leaks at a meeting of the MPs belonging to the ruling National Democratic Alliance. As per the Union Minister, Kiren Rijiju, the Prime Minister called for collective national efforts to build a foolproof examination system. Listen to this.
एक राज्य का मामला नहीं है, सिर्फ केंद्र सरकार का मामला नहीं, पूरा देश का हर एक राज्य में जहां-जहां पेपर लीक करने में जो लोग लिप्त हैं, जो लोग इस धंधे में इन्वॉल्व है, जिन्होंने काम इस तरह का घिनौना किया है, पाप काम किया है, उनको सजा देने के लिए सब एकजुट होना चाहिए। ये कोई दलगत राजनीति का विषय नहीं है, ये देश का विषय है।
And in another development, Sonam Wangchuk secured major relief from a division bench of the Delhi High Court. Hearing his wife's petition, the court ordered him to be shifted to the Medanta Hospital, his preferred choice reportedly, directing a team of doctors to constantly monitor his health condition. It also allowed the wife unrestricted access to Sonam Wangchuk. While the Solicitor General reportedly argued that Wangchuk should not get discharged against medical advice, the court refused to get into that aspect reportedly. Meanwhile, political leaders continue to extend their support to the CJP protest, a number of them. Arvind Kejriwal, also Sharad Pawar, Supriya Sule visited the Jantar Mantar protest site, speaking at a rally in Kolkata. Meanwhile, Mamata Banerjee also threw her weight behind the protesting students. Although Rahul Gandhi met the Lok Sabha Speaker earlier in the day, seeking a discussion on the injuries inflicted on the protesters and the NEET issue, the opposition accused the ruling party of stifling its voice, leading to the parliament being adjourned.
And do communicate to this House the names of 2 members so elected by Rajya Sabha to the joint committee. PM today.
जो अन्याय और अत्याचार और जो एक उनके ऊपर दबाव बनाया जा रहा है, उसके खिलाफ हम पार्लियामेंट में उनके कंसेंट से आवाज़ उठाने के लिए, बात रखने के लिए समय भी पूछा था और हमने उठ के बात करने के लिए तैयार हो गए। लेकिन यूं ही हम उठे, यूं ही एक शब्द बोले, एक ही शब्द, तो माइक ऑफ हो गया, बंद हो गया। ये डेमोक्रेसी है।
But then a number of questions continue to hang in the air as those protests swell on the ground. The questions also continue to mount. What happens here onwards? This is, after all, about the future of the youth of India and what they are saying at this point. What about a debate on the issues concerning the students? Also, some have been talking about and asking why it took so long for even the engagement to start. Calls for more accountability and response are escalating. Shifting focus to the other key development we are tracking, the Red Sea flashing red again. After Hormuz, the next pressure point is the Bab el-Mandeb, the narrow gate that could jam global trade in a heartbeat. Now, the Houthis are basically threatening shipping there, and Saudi Arabia is warning of force. The world's supply chains, supply lines back in the firing line. Our next report decoding what all of this really means for global energy markets. How does it impact you? And how it could also impact your pocket.
It begins with a warning shot, then the market panic follows. One choke point is already strained. Now, another could be dragged into the storm. Bab al-Mandeb, the narrow strait between Yemen and the Horn of Africa, is no side note. It is a gate through which oil, cargo and war risk all pass at speed. The threat is simple and brutal. If the Houthis move to choke this route, the consequences could spread far beyond the Red Sea. Ships would be forced to divert, transit times would jump, insurance costs would soar, oil prices could spike massively. After squeezing Hormuz, Iran's Houthi allies have turned to the Red Sea gateway as a new pressure point. As seen in this map, Houthi forces have declared a strict maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia at the Bab al-Mandeb Strait that handles roughly 4 to 7.4 million barrels of oil and petroleum products per day. This amount equals about 5 to 7% of total global oil trade. These are the images of Houthi supporters' rally in Sana'a after armed forces announced the navigation ban on Saudi Arabia.
Yemen is moving forward with a continued comprehensive escalation, first through the naval and air blockade across all parts of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Major foreign companies, including American, British, and other companies investing billions of dollars, will be targeted.
Saudi Arabia and the Houthis traded fire last week for the first time in years, threatening a 2022 truce that has held despite expiring. The exchange of strikes was set off when an Iranian plane attempted to land in Sana'a, challenging Saudi Arabia's hegemony over Yemeni skies. Houthis also warn of inflicting harm of Saudi oil facilities. The kingdom produces over 10 million barrels of crude per day for energy imports.
We say to the Saudi aggression that if you fire at any aircraft that comes to Yemen, or if you fire at Yemen, then we will target your petroleum facilities and we will target your airports and we will target your families.
Analysts say the danger is not just another clash at sea. It is the prospect of two critical maritime arteries being hit at once, with Hormuz already disrupted and Bab al-Mandeb now under pressure. For shippers, the nightmare is clear. One blocked route can be absorbed. Two choke points at the same time could remake trade flows, drag freight rates higher and deepen the shock across energy markets. Bab al-Mandeb is not just geography, it is a pressure valve, and right now it is hissing. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Time now to get you Gravitas global headlines, taking you around the world in 120 seconds.
A Russian naval ship carried out a live fire weapons exercise in international waters off the Channel, around 74 kilometers south of the UK port of Plymouth. China urged the Philippines side to earnestly fulfill its commitments, stop at once provocations at sea and the spread of disinformation over the Renai Jiao incident. Lebanese army troops began deploying in the southern town after Israeli forces withdrew from the area, in line with a US brokered plan. Appeals court rejects former US President Joe Biden's bid to withhold recordings and transcripts of pre-presidency interviews with ghost writer. German authorities warn of the growing influence of AI and digital technology on the sexual abuse of children, saying that abusers are increasingly using those tools. French lawmakers are set to approve a bill banning social media access for children under 15, putting France at the forefront of similar efforts in the European Union. A wildfire raged out of control across Spain's central Guadalajara province, burning for a sixth day and becoming the largest blaze of the year.
The FIFA World Cup might be over. Spain celebrated its historic triumph over Argentina, but US President Donald Trump appeared to be determined to grab a share of the spotlight instead of stepping aside. After presenting the trophy during the ceremony, he lingered on at the podium, remaining front and center, it seemed, as the Spanish players were in their celebratory moment. And that awkward moment quickly became one of the ceremony's biggest talking points, with critics accusing the US president of turning a team's crowning glory into a personal photo opportunity. The celebrations appeared awkward enough that the FIFA president eventually guided Trump away, allowing the Spanish champions to have the stage to themselves and also enjoy the moment. For many observers, it was yet another unforced error, another self-goal in a presidency that has seen no shortage of headline-grabbing controversies. The man who recently criticized Spain's leader for not contributing enough to NATO spending and called the country hopeless, quote-unquote, suddenly found himself presenting the World Cup to Spain. And if that wasn't strange enough, many of the 80,000 plus spectators greeted the president with boos. One incident that also stood out and became headline news, a focal point of controversy in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, was the personal intervention by Trump following the match ban on the US striker. Following Balogun's red card, Trump reportedly called the FIFA president to request a review of the suspension, and FIFA subsequently invoked Article 27 to suspend the one-match ban for a one-year probationary period. Trump's World Cup intervention sparked global backlash, challenged FIFA's integrity, fueled concerns over America's soft power. Trump's self-goals are not limited to the football field. They are playing out on the battlefield as well. The renewed confrontation with Iran over the Strait of Hormuz is a case in point, a big one. A conflict that Trump once suggested would be over in a matter of days has dragged on, and how? With Iran refusing to back down and negotiating from a position of strength in a way, his broader objective of forcing regime change remains out of reach. The cost is mounting. The Pentagon says nearly 100 US troops have been injured in just the last 2 weeks of renewed fighting. Then came another policy U-turn. Trump announced the US would control the Strait of Hormuz and charge ships for safe passage, a move that critics said mirrored tactics long associated with Iran. But it only took 24 hours for a U-turn, less than 24 hours later, in fact. He abruptly scrapped the proposed 20% reimbursement fee. Another dramatic reversal, another self-goal. And then came Trump's face-off with the NATO over defense spending. Trump demanded that every NATO ally dramatically raise defense spending to 5% of the GDP. At the 2025 Hague summit, allies agreed to work towards that level by 2035, with 3.5% earmarked for core military spending and 1.5% for broader security investments. But Spain openly refused to sign up to the target, securing an exemption and sticking to its own spending plans, despite Trump's public pressure and threats of economic retaliation. And instead of projecting unquestioned authority, the episode highlighted basically the limits of his leverage over allies. In February this year, the US Supreme Court shut down a big chunk of the extra tariffs Trump had ordered, forcing the government to return money to the companies that had paid them. According to the budget data, reportedly, the US has paid out $81 billion in tariff refunds so far this fiscal year, which started in October 2025, compared with $5 billion during the same period. During the same period last year, in fact. And as the wildfire sent smoke billowing across the US border, Trump threatened tariffs on Canadian imports, accusing Canada of failing to control the fires. In a social media post, Trump wrote the US had been, quote-unquote, invaded by dirty air. The cost of this pollution must be added to the tariffs Canada is currently paying. The move stunned many observers. Canada is not just America's largest trading partner after all. It's also one of its closest allies, sharing the world's longest undefended border and deep military ties through NORAD and NATO. Critics argued that targeting an ally over a natural disaster risked straining a crucial partnership without addressing the underlying crisis. Instead of putting pressure on an adversary, Washington found itself locked in a dispute with one of its closest friends, turning another tough-talking threat into a diplomatic self-goal. Onto a special report. A sinister digital underworld, it seems, is systematically turning children around the world into weapons, unfortunately, against themselves and the society, it seems, operating behind popular gaming platforms, encrypted chat rooms, allegedly. Predators are weaponizing psychological coercion to fuel a global epidemic of harm. Our next report telling you about the internet's absolute darkest secret.
What looks like chat, gaming, and friendship can turn into pressure, fear, and control. It begins in the ordinary places: game lobbies, private chats by kids, a harmless message, a joke, a new friend. Then the tone shifts. The requests grow darker, the control tightens, and the child is no longer talking to a friend, but to a predator working inside a wider online machine. New reports have thrown fresh light on the 764 network, a violent extremist ecosystem linked to child exploitation and coercion. Reports say it is only one part of a much larger and fast-changing web, with victims and offenders spread across dozens of countries. The pattern is chilling. The criminals build trust, exploit vulnerability, and then demand obedience, then use shame, fear, and blackmail to keep control. But reports suggest the danger is much bigger than one network. The alleged perpetrators operate across countries and platforms. Some reportedly celebrate violence and psychological abuse, recording acts of harm and using them to gain status, control, or notoriety. The internet has seen similar warnings before. The Blue Whale Challenge became a global panic years ago, after reports claimed vulnerable teenagers were being drawn into a series of increasingly dangerous tasks. The technology keeps changing, the manipulation does not. For parents, the biggest danger is that there may be no obvious warning sign. A child can be sitting in their bedroom, apparently playing a harmless game, while someone thousands of kilometers away is slowly taking control of their life. The battle for children's safety is no longer only happening outside the home, it is happening behind the screen. And sometimes the person holding the phone is the last one to know. Bureau report, WION World is one.
Shifting focus now to South India, the political slugfest between the TVK and the opposition DMK in Tamil Nadu is refusing to die down. In fact, a fresh row has erupted over the arrest of a DMK MLA who represents the Vilatikulam Assembly constituency, was arrested over his alleged threatening remarks against the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. The legislator claims that the police threatened him at gunpoint and attempted to assault him while in custody. After 10 hours of questioning, the DMK MLA was produced before a local court, which remanded him to 14 days of judicial custody. The arrest, though, has triggered a sharp reaction from the DMK leadership. The party chief and former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has accused the TVK government of targeting former DMK ministers and MLAs. Not just that, he has also accused the TVK of neglecting democratic values in the state. That statement on your screen. And DMK leader also hitting out at Vijay's government. In fact, this is the post put out by Kanimori, accusing the TVK government of suppressing dissent and vowing to give a befitting lesson to the TVK through democratic measures. The arrest coming just weeks after the former DMK minister, Anita Radhakrishnan, was also arrested over remarks against the Chief Minister Vijay, further intensifying the political rivalry between the ruling TVK and the opposition DMK. Over the last couple of months, the war of words between the TVK and the DMK has only escalated, with both sides accusing each other of bribing the legislators. What's the link between cotton and weapons? Well, it seems more than you can imagine. While US President Donald Trump has been escalating the West Asia war, America has been grappling to replenish its depleting weapons stockpiles. Europe also has been ramping up ammunition production amid the looming threat of Russia. However, China holds the key to their plans. Let's tell you how. Boosting production of weapons is not possible without using nitrocellulose, which is also known as gun cotton. It's a highly flammable material made from cotton. Through exposure to nitric acid or another powerful nitrating agent. Crucially, gun cotton is a vital input for making propellant powder used in firearms and missiles. Besides this, it's also used in inks, coatings, pharmaceuticals. Where does China then come into the picture, you ask? As per the International Trade Center, China accounts for nearly half of the world's market for nitrocellulose and is a key supplier of this material to Europe as well as the United States. And as per reports, Europe relies on China for nearly 70% of gun cotton's raw material. But then why does the West have to depend on China for gun cotton in the first place? You see, after the Cold War, many Western countries reportedly reduced defense manufacturing capacity as the governments expected lower ammunition needs. Additionally, operations at many nitrocellulose plants were downsized. And this scenario changed after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which basically compelled the NATO countries to dramatically increase ammunition production. And reports suggest reports suggest they link the shortage of gun cotton to demand surging faster than the production capacity. According to reports, companies in both Europe and the United States are trying to increase the domestic capacity of nitrocellulose production. And this comes amid growing concerns that China could also disrupt access to gun cotton in case of a future conflict, thereby hampering ammunition production as well. China, remember, also has a leverage over the West because of its dominance of the critical mineral industry. After all, it produces 90% of the world's rare earths. In April last year, Beijing restricted rare earth exports to America to counter Trump's tariff war. While the US president initially threatened to levy 100% more tariffs on China, he announced a trade and economic deal with China in November 2025. According to him, China promised to eliminate the export controls on rare earth elements and other critical minerals and end its retaliation against the US semiconductor manufacturers. After Trump visited Beijing in May this year, the White House asserted that China has agreed to address US concerns regarding supply chain shortages and restrictions on the sale of critical minerals and rare earths. A month later, China reportedly issued rare earth licenses to 3 top American automakers, including General Motors, reportedly. But then the US also wants to reduce its reliance on overseas supply chains for defense production. A day earlier, Trump signed an executive order basically making it harder for US defense contractors to obtain waivers, allowing them to buy critical minerals from China. In fact, companies seeking a waiver will have to prove that they searched for alternatives and provide a plan to reduce reliance on prohibited suppliers. And this comes as many critical minerals used in missiles, aircraft, other advanced systems still rely on Chinese suppliers. The Pentagon has been pushing defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing reportedly to rapidly expand weapons production and eliminate the vulnerabilities inside the military supply chain. But then, considering that it will take a long time, of course, to cut dependence on Beijing, depleting munition remains a major concern for the US and also its allies. Switching gears, the Farnborough Air Show in the UK opened with defense and aircraft orders in focus as the wars in Ukraine and West Asia drove demand for stronger air defense capabilities. Defense companies made up half of a record 1,600 exhibitors at this year's show, highlighting a shift from the commercial aviation roots of an event that began way back in 1948 as a showcase basically for British aerospace technology.
It's day 2 of the Farnborough Air Show here in the UK. There's massive footfall taking place, well over 100,000 people in attendance. And day 1 concluded on a big high. They're seeing one of the highest numbers here at the air show, one of the biggest in the world. 36.2 billion pounds worth of orders that were completed. These are purchases of aircraft from Airbus and Boeing, and this includes helicopters. There were well over 200 firm aircraft orders, and those were the numbers. Along with that, nearly 450 firm engine orders, which have also been placed. Now, these orders largely shape the aerospace structure and the industry all across the world. These engines are from LEAP and Pratt & Whitney. Pratt & Whitney engines are the ones which are used in the F-15s, F-16s, the F-35s, the F-22 Raptors. And F-35 is here on display. It's one of the headlining acts. Major presence here today as well. Lots more that will be shaping up. India has a major presence here at the Farnborough Air Show.
And among the biggest attractions this year, next generation counter drone technology is designed to distinguish small drones from birds in real time. A capability shaped by lessons, of course, from the battlefields of Ukraine and growing drone threats around the Gulf, including Saudi Arabia and Jordan, using AI-powered sensors, radar, electro-optical cameras, acoustic detection. These systems are redefining air defense against the smallest and often the deadliest aerial threats.
Our systems have been deployed in Ukraine, and we had some great feedbacks from Ukraine. We've been working closely with the people. We have a specific task force, Ukrainian task force, that is actually talking to people on the field. And these people wanted the range of a radar is fixed. This one is from 5 to 7 kilometers. The people in the field wanted to have an extended range of 10 kilometers. We'd work with them in order to develop additional software for them to see shields coming their ways.
Another attraction at the show is the Collaborative Combat Aircraft, CCA ecosystem, where unmanned combat aircraft are basically designed to team up with crewed fighter jets, extending their reach, firepower, survivability. The US Air Force is betting big on this concept, in fact, also signing a key contract on the 17th of June to accelerate the program. On display, there was the General Atomics one of the front runners in America's next generation of the AI-enabled Loyal Wingman aircraft, offering a glimpse into the future of aerial combat.
I'm standing in front of the future of aerial combat. This is the FQ-42A Dark Merlin by General Atomics. It's part of the Collaborative Combat Aircraft ecosystem. These are unmanned crewed systems. They are going to be teaming up with crewed fighter jet, and they are going to be deployed in the dozens or even in the hundreds. Just 1 month ago, the US Air Force signed its first production contract for more than 150 Loyal Wingmen. That's what they are being called. And this is part of that fleet. The US Air Force will have these deployed along with their F-35 jets. And they also have the MBDA Spear missiles, which are also mounted on the F-35. Those are going to be mounted on the General Atomics FQ-42A. It's already gone into production now. The contract has been signed. And in time to come, every F-35 in the US Air Force fleet will be deployed with maybe dozens or even hundreds of these unmanned vehicles. For WION, World is One, I'm Shivan John.
Shifting focus, the president of Nicaragua has declared there will be no more elections in the country. Can you believe this? But why? According to him, to allow the opposition to take power, he has reinforced his grip on the Central American nation after nearly 2 decades in office and speaking during ceremonies marking the 47th anniversary of the revolution there. The 80-year-old leader dismissed any possibility of future elections that could bring his political rivals to power. He is a former Marxist revolutionary, remember, who first rose to prominence after leading the revolution against a US-backed dictatorship. He has governed Nicaragua since returning to power in the year 2007. His successive election victories have been widely questioned by the international community as well.
They better forget it. Here there will be no more elections, so they can try to grab the government and seize power. We are going to work with the National Assembly and the relevant organizations because we need to pass laws that will put up a wall, a barrier against the coup plotters and the traitors, so that no matter how much money the Yankees give them, they won't be able to succeed.
Just for context here, general elections had originally been expected this November, but constitutional reforms approved last year extended the presidential term from 5 to 6 years, moving the next elections to 2027. Addressing thousands of supporters, the leader accused the opposition groups, many of whose leaders are now living in exile, in fact, of working with America to regain power. Ortega and his wife, the vice president, have ruled the country with sweeping authority for nearly 2 decades now. His government has faced widespread international criticism over its treatment of political opponents and its crackdown on anti-government protests in 2018, during which, remember, the United Nations says more than 300 people were killed. Opposition groups in exile continue to call for increased international pressure to restore democratic elections, while concerns over the country's political future remain a focus of global attention as well. Time now to get you some offbeat stories. We're starting off with what's happening in Sri Lanka. It's turning to drones in order to fight its worst dengue outbreak in nearly a decade. Air Force drones are being used to identify stagnant water and potential mosquito breeding sites in hard-to-reach areas. In fact, the country has recorded over 76,000 dengue infections and 53 deaths since January. The outbreak has been linked to a more virulent dengue strain, with about 75% of the cases linked to the strain. Take a look.
I had some instructions from my family doctor. Then he asked me to stay at home because my the platelet count is not too much down. Then I did my home meditation at home because too much patients are in the hospital, in the government and the private hospital.
Let's just break this down. This drone operation is part of a wider government response. Military and police teams are inspecting homes, construction sites and schools for mosquito breeding sites. The Air Force is also supporting the dengue prevention operations nationwide. The outbreak is straining Sri Lanka's hospitals. More than 18,000 cases were recorded in the first 2 weeks of July itself. Hospitals have added beds, converted wards, extended staff working hours as well.
It's challenging to the doctors because it's a rapid increase of patients. Like all of a sudden you get a big bulk of patients coming into the hospital. So it's challenging. So challenging to the doctors, nurses, the health administrators, everyone. So because you have to use the same resources that we had before.
And with hospitals under pressure, doctors are advising the patients with mild dengue symptoms to recover at home. Authorities are also considering introducing a dengue vaccine. But experts warn its benefits could be limited as multiple virus strains circulate. Authorities expect the cases to ease as monsoon rains weaken in August. But infections could also rise again. For now, drones are giving the health teams a new way to find the hidden breeding sites. For millions, the day does not quite begin until the first cup of coffee gets poured. Now, that daily ritual may have a surprising upside. This is good news for coffee lovers. New research suggesting moderate coffee consumption could also be linked to a lower risk of heart disease and stroke, but experts are also warning that more is not always better. Our next report decoding this for you.
That morning cup of coffee may be doing more than keeping you awake. It could be quietly working in your favor. Researchers are increasingly looking at coffee not simply as a source of caffeine, but as a complex drink packed with hundreds of natural compounds. And the latest evidence suggests moderate consumption may be associated with better heart health. According to a new scientific statement from the American Heart Association, drinking up to around 5 cups of coffee a day may potentially be linked to a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Experts say that while your ideal caffeine limit depends on your CYP1A2 gene, which affects how quickly you metabolize caffeine, some people tolerate 400 mg daily, which is about 3 to 5 cups of coffee, while others experience side effects with much less. But there is an important catch. This is not a license to drink coffee without limits. The potential benefit appears to depend on moderation and on what goes into the cup. Black coffee or coffee with minimal sugar and cream is very different from a large sugary coffee loaded with syrups, whipped cream, and high-calorie extras. Doctors are particularly cautious about energy drinks. Unlike coffee, energy drinks can deliver large doses of caffeine quickly, often combined with significant amounts of sugar and other stimulants. For some people, that combination can increase heart rate and blood pressure and may trigger dangerous heart rhythm problems. So what could make coffee beneficial? Scientists believe the answer may lie beyond caffeine. Coffee contains antioxidants and other plant compounds that may influence inflammation, metabolism, and the health of blood vessels. These effects could potentially help explain why moderate coffee drinkers sometimes show better cardiovascular outcomes. The message is simple. If you enjoy coffee, there may be no need to feel guilty about your daily habit, but do not turn moderation into excess. The humble cup of coffee may have a place in a heart-healthy lifestyle, but it is still no substitute for exercise, good sleep, and a balanced diet. Bureau Report, WION World is one.
Time now to get you one of the most fascinating images of the day. The world's second giant red sphere theater in China is blending cinema, cuisine and tourism at a height equivalent to that of a 15-story residential tower. This immersive dome structure is suitable for live sports broadcasts as well as film screenings. And before we wrap up, here's a look at some major events set to shape headlines around the world tomorrow. What's expected to unfold over the next 24 hours? The Russian foreign minister will take part in the Russia-ASEAN ministerial meeting in Manila on Wednesday to further advance their strategic partnership. The annual Russia-ASEAN trade, remember, stands at around $20 billion. The 25% additional tariff imposed by US on Brazil will take effect on Wednesday on items like furniture, ethanol, machinery, footwear and sugar. It makes Brazil the first country to be targeted under Trump's new tariff strategy, which relies on Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. India will convene the 16th BRICS Health Ministers meeting in Chandigarh from Wednesday. It will bring together health ministers and senior health officials from BRICS member countries to deepen cooperation on health security, pandemic preparedness, and also equitable access to quality healthcare. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION The World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back to WION World is One. We're glad you're watching. Time now for Pars, American Joker, the headlines. President Trump says that he would take care of the Houthi rebels if the Iran-backed militant group follows through on its threatened blockade of Saudi